Hi everyone, I hope you're good guys and welcome for a new video. Today we're gonna talk about SNTS or Synth or whatever you wanna call it, and this kind of very dark atmospheric techno kind of hitting around and quite a bit faster than usual, around 135 until 140. So let's have a listen first at what I've managed to recreate. So basically I've split in two. Like usually I just do one demo, but this time I split in two. Just the main reason is like the main pitfall I would say like to avoid with this kind of music is like to overdo it, like to have too many elements. It's easy, like especially with the ambience, it's really easy to put too much ambience and to get everything muddy, and so that's why I split them in two. You're gonna see if I bring everything together. It's not that it's sounding bad, but I think it's, for me, it's too full and it's maybe, yeah, I don't know, just too much. Well, you have like kind of so yeah, that's, I would say, the first advice I would recommend is like try to keep to 2 or 3 ambience sound, and I will explain later a little bit how arrange this ambience. But first we're gonna talk about the kick. So the kick, there is first different kind of pattern you can use. The classic one, you can use as well this one with the kick just hitting. It's kind of giving, I don't know, this kind of off kick kind of sound. You can this one as well, completely putting off with the kick. The cool thing is with this kind of techno, you can really like experiment with the kick and just don't stick to the 4/4. And yeah, I'm gonna go back, keep simple like this. And what I've done here, so I'm gonna get rid of this effect now. I use my industrial kick rack. I will put the link in the description if you're not familiar with. So let's just get rid of the rumble and the perc. So that's the initial kick. And what I've just done, so this is basically, this rack is basically coming in the rack. It's like just to make, it's more or less preset, and it's kind of to make your kick sound a bit more industrial by default when you drop the kick in the rack. I will put the link of the rack in the description. And I'll just add a little bit of overdrive just to accentuate this mid-range frequency, which is kind of important for this kind of sound of a synth sound. Second thing is the rumble. So in his production, you can hear like the rumble is a kind of how I can say, a bit in terms of volume, a bit lower than usual than all the rest of techno, and it can work if it's really up to you. It works as well. There is no good or bad way to do it. Both, it's just up to your taste if you prefer like having a strong rumble or something more a little bit subtle in the background. And same with the rumble, I use the pre-delay. So I've made a couple of videos lately where I'm talking about that basically it's the pre-delay of the reverb inside the rack, and if you put it around this, you have a kind of the rumble off kick, and if you put it at 1, you have like more like classic rumble. So same, it's working as well. Same, different kind of thing that you can experiment with to make your own. And last things is this ring perc. So basically it's just this on top. It's basically I'm sending the kick in a return all of this is return. I'm singing in the return, and there is some delay which is filtered and some amp. If you want to find out more about, just go in the link. There is just go in the description. There is the link. And here is the same. You can really like experiment with the rhythm to have different kind of, and the filter change as well. Different kind of flavor. That's really up to you. I keep it simple, just, you know, to don't overdo it. And yeah, just overall process, just an EQ to kind of correct the frequency. This one was kind of a nasty one a little bit. I didn't really like it. You need to listen on speaker. If you're on the headphone, you can barely hear it, but on the speaker it's obvious. You lose a little bit of the mid-range, but this was a bit too resonant. I could maybe be a little bit more gentle. And same here as well, it's just a matter of taste. I lose a little bit of punch, but I get rid of this resonant kick sound. You see, it's like decision that you have to make. Then here I have just a amp, where it's just to add a bit of mid-range top end to the kick and helping cutting through the mix basically. And then finally I had some multi-band compression, but I've been sort of like very like, it's just basically working on the low. It's just like kind of to really compress. It's kind of brutal and very excessive compression. And the danger here is still the same, is to find the right balance between keeping this mid-range punchy attack of the kick, but still having this nice low end, but and boosting a bit the low end, but and still keeping this mid-range attack. Is same here. Is it's more a matter of taste rather than what is right or bad. So that's for the kick. And I show you different patterns you can experiment with as well. Let's jump into the hats. So these kind of hats, they are kind of very, I would say, noisy and kind of throw in a lot of reverb. More or less all the sounds sound like this, but I'm just gonna show you the pattern. It's pretty classic pattern. Everything is hitting every 16th note, and I don't need this one. You have close eye hat. I'm gonna get rid of this and this because that's one of the main things. There is not that much process. You can see I just like add a bit of saturation just to make for loudness purpose. Everything is just like classic hi-hat, classic open hat. The pattern is something like, if you're familiar with my video, you know I'm doing this often, like 16 hats and the one offbeat a bit with a stronger velocity than the rest to giving this driving effect. And then you have this kind of shaker effect. Yeah, just to kind of add body, to add a bit of stereo as well, I would say. But the main thing here with the hats, what I've done is, so I found, it's not all of this track like this, but on this last EP there are a lot like a kind of hats with not a very strong attack and a very, like I told you, like very noisy hats, like almost made with wide noise. And this EQ, I've cut here like to cut a little bit of this transient, and I accentuate here to get this noisy effect. And this, when you drop into the reverb, is even more effective. And yeah, so yes, then all together. So then I've got this ride noise. So here as well, different kind of pattern. You have like 16 pattern. You kind of have more like kind of driving effect. This one is quite similar, but yeah, just up to you. I use this one, and here's the same. In this track, the ride was kind of still always the same kind of spirit, like very noisy, and he managed to like kind of, they are gluing well together with the rest of the track. It's not like usually it's like you can hear it like very distinctly, like the ride hitting, and here is more like a kind of noisy ride, but you can still hear it's a ride, but it's like merging with the background very well. And one of the only way to do that is kind of throwing a lot of reverb, obviously. And that's what I've done, this FileMaker. If you're not familiar with this track, I will put the link in the description. It's basically a lot of delay and reverb. Don't pay attention to the other effects, but because I'm not using them for this purpose, but it's like, yeah, reverb and delay. That's how you get this. And here, same principle. I accentuate here to get the noisy effect. Stereo, that's just a delay to make things more stereo. And then sidechain. And yeah, I put it mono because it was sounding much better. So then so you see, you can hear when I add the ride, just you can hear, okay, that's the ride, but it's kind of I don't know, the transients are less important than the other kind of techno. Alright, let's jump into Percs. So Perc, there is two kind of percussion. There is one which is more classic. I use my Perc wrap. If you're not familiar, we'll put the link in the description as well, which is basically I've made a video about the kind of pattern like this, so you can usually it's usually great to have like your Perc. So here is 2 beats, and you have you put your Perc just before the second kick and just right after the first kick on the first beat, and on the second beat you put off beat. And usually it's nice to pitch it up. You get this kind of impulsion by doing that. And obviously you can experiment, or you can always, like when it's like this, you know, like I always recommend like to duplicate, and maybe the second one, yeah, like pushing it like this. Like, yeah, just make things your own, experiment. And yeah, especially that's work because there is this rack, obviously. Otherwise it's... So if you're not familiar, go to check. I will put it's like basically a delay with reverb and filtered, and it's helping to quickly get this percussion, driving percussion, like. And so yeah, just after it's just amps here, you know, just to add a bit of crunchiness and presence in the mid reverb. So yeah, here for this kind of track, obviously I will always put a decay of the reverb a little bit more than usually, and same with the dry wet, because you know it's this whole ambience kind of spirit track. And then some sidechain just. But yeah, here the thing is really the perc. So the second way to do percussion, so here I show you like by pitch variation, you can have different kind of, you see, or kind of taste. And here, so here what I've done, it's a bit different. So you have all of this, it's because I use 3 perc, but I'm just using one. So consider it's just like it's just this one. Oh, sorry. So here is playing at the same pitch, but the trick to get this kind of driving effect, it's basically to play with the filter. So here I've got auto filter like this, and so it's work as well, but you get this this kind of, you get this nice rhythmic effect because of the filter modulating. So for example, the two first notes I will leave at around 500 Hz, and then the one on the second beat I will put a little bit more up. And you got this kind of con, chak, and the kind of same effect that if you was pitching up, but you know, sometimes when you pitch up your perc, it just sounds like horrible. Or even if you have like something, even with the synth as well, it's the same. If you wanna play something with the same note, and you know, when you try to add variation and you maybe try to pitch up this one to make it sound different, and you are like, okay, no, that sounds too cheesy. Maybe keep the same note and just play with a filter and kind of opening the filter back and forth. Well, here I've done the here is plain. So obviously to add a bit of variation along the track, I use the LFO like this. The filter will be like slightly modulating around the track. And yeah, that's how you get this. Adding a bit of resonance drive as well to accentuate this effect will help. This after is really depend of what perc sound you're using. I recommend to use maybe with something a bit noisy. And then the process is like more or less usually is just EQ to filter, amps, and delay, reverb. Then I said there is no really like secret. It's really depend your taste and how you manage things. I will maybe recommend to filter your delay to avoid things to get too messy. But other than that, yeah, the reverb I think is more or less the same parameter than this one. And yes, compression, sidechain compression, just to give a bit of pumping effect. So yeah, that's two examples of how you can use perc, what kind of perc you can use and different way to get them. Obviously you can make your own, have some different variation. Do not hesitate to experiment. And yeah, basically the automation that I've done with the filter is something I've done as well similar in this rack. I have the filter here that you can automate, but yeah, if you want to find out more about this rack, I will put the link in the description, and I'll talk a bit more about what kind of pattern you can get and what kind of modulation, pitch, crush, that kind of stuff. Alright, then we are coming to the Synht, which is on the other one. So this kind of is kind of growling, kind of, I would say, like if it was growling Synht, growling bassline. So there is two things here. Obviously without the effect sounds kind of weird. The main thing is because it's play like it's a very low note, and playing low note you can get this growling granular kind of texture. And so obviously it's like at a very low level, but then that's why I put a saturator with hard curve and like a lot of drive. It's like just to bring, because basically the idea that I have behind that is like the low note of your synth sound, usually they don't really have that much frequency in the high, and here is doing how I can say that, it's like taking the lower note who doesn't have this high frequency and trying to get them high frequency. And basically your synth, which is supposed to be a synth maybe for bassline, you use so much distortion and filter that on the end it became a synth in the high. I don't know if you get what I mean. It's kind of hard to explain, but yeah, that's the thing. And I use my plugin Synht to do that, which is basically just an analog. I use the square waveform, and the thing here is the pitch envelope. Obviously these two parameters, it's not like this one have a certain effect and this one have a certain kind of effect. They are both like working together. I mean, like it's not like just, yeah, it's not like, oh, you're gonna turn this one to see what's the effect and then turn this one to see what is the effect. They are both working together. So just and it depends as well if you play in the low frequency or the high frequency. So I really recommend to experiment with this rack and with lower note, high note, and trying to apply different kind of pitch effect to get different kind of texture. I've made a video, I will put the link in the description, where all kind of sound you can get with this rack, and it's very versatile and you can really get different kind of stuff. So obviously, yeah, here is playing low notes with this pitch modulation and cranking up everything with a lot of saturation. You can see it's like the hardest, probably was on the strongest mode of saturator, and with the dries all the way up. So, but then when you add obviously delay and reverb, and then I'm not sure I put it back around how it was the parameter, but yeah, that's much better. And yeah, that's what you get. So here as well, you have a low pass filter, and I've put LFO to make the filter move to things a bit less boring. I could have go further as well and use autopan to same as well, like kind of slightly move to the left or the right. I haven't done it for this sound, but if you want to add an extra movement, you can do it. Alright guys, so we're gonna stop here. Like I write at the beginning of the video, I wanted to make just one video, but was taking too much time. It's like 45 minutes of recording. So I'm gonna stop for now, and I'm gonna split drums and rhythm part with the ambience one. And next Wednesday, I will put the other part of the video where I'm talking about the ambience. So do not forget to subscribe and to activate the bell notification if you haven't. And don't forget to like the video. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and see you soon. Bye bye.